Okay, I'm sorry. I'm crying because it wasn't the original plan, and I got a lot of flack from my family. So, I have immigrant parents. We're from Ghana, West Africa, and I was raised by my grandmother in Ghana. And at a young age, I've always loved helping people. I wanted to do that with global health. But when I chopped off all of my hair and began my hair care journey, I was just so passionate about making hair care more inclusive for others.
Joining us from Dallas, please welcome Mark Cuban, and right here in New York, Barbara Corcoran. Thank you so much for joining us. I have to tell you, Barbara, that clip is so touching, and I think that her product and her presentation really speak to the times. People want to own their own story, and they also want you to understand how they got to that point. Is that why you think the season is, you're getting your best ratings ever?
I think that's part of the reason, because everybody's wearing their heart and soul right in their hands, as you just saw in that little clip there. And we saw a lot of entrepreneurs like that with enormous passion and telling a riveting story that you had to sit there as a shark and think, they deserve the money. Let me buy this thing. But then you had to put your left brain on and analyze whether it was really a business that was going to make a go of it. And it's been an unusual season on Shark Tank. Everybody was there with passion, need, much more so than ever, asking less money, surprisingly, having lost their jobs, had to reinvent themselves. So we have one dramatic story after another. It's been a phenomenal season.
It is, and you're kicking off season 13. Mark, how do you explain? Do you think it's the times now, and people are tired of putting on masks, they're tired of putting on filters, and they're saying, I'm going to take the risk so that I can get the reward?
Yeah, I think it's all the above, Tamron. Look, a lot of us are stuck at home, working from home. There's a lot of uncertainty about our lives, our health. And I think that's driven people to create businesses from home that they're not only passionate, but they have a purpose with as well. So we saw, in the clip, this wasn't just about business for her. This was about her life and her future and her family and what she represents. And as Barbara said, we saw so much of that this season because people really connected to their roots, to their passion, to their purpose, and went out and went for it. And that's what makes the season special.
You talk about, being agile in business, and we can celebrate risks and reward all the time, but the risk doesn't always turn into a reward. You walk a lot of people back out the door and say, take 99 on your dream. You both have had a lot of risks with great rewards. How do you know, or do you ever know it's going to pay off, Mark?
You don't know until you know. But when you go for it, you always have to ask yourself, why am I doing this? Why did I start? And if that reason is solid and you really believe in it, you'll keep on going. I can't even begin to tell you how many times I failed. But the one thing I always told myself is it didn't matter how many times I failed. Everybody forgets your failures. All you have to do is be right one time. And everybody can tell you how lucky you are and you can enjoy it.
I like it. So Barbara, here we are talking, and you and Mark are incredibly successful billionaires, but I know, and you've shared your story, where there was nothing in the bank. How do you make the risk when you don't have a bank account that has a lot of zeros behind it? When you're the person hiding, when you go to the ATM and it comes out, you're like, oh, nobody sees this piece of paper. And you're hiding it because I think people think it's easy to take a risk when you have a backup plan. But when you don't have a backup plan, how do you do it?
You're much better off without a backup plan. The great advantage of coming from nothing and building a business is you are at risk. You've got both guns ablazing and you have no other alternative. So guess what happens? You find solutions. I always think the businesses I love to invest in are poor kids. And the reason I like that is because they've struggled earlier in their life. They've had to come through it. They know what rejection's about. They know how to bounce back up. Whereas a kid that's more affluent, never really experiences failure because their parents kind of shelter them against it. You get the tutor, you get the fancy vacation. You have less need for success.
Right.
So no money in the bank account is your best friend. When you see a 0 in your bank account, the chances that you're going to succeed, I think, are exponentially greater. I consider a lucky break. You're about to find out what you're made of.
I think that's true in some, because I used to tell people I want to live like a queen, but I always want to fight like a junkyard dog. Because I think if you fight like a junkyard dog, you're going to stay in the game. But Mark, listen, fear can take over. And part of what you do is motivate, as an NBA owner, as a leader of business. It is so critical to motivate, but these are very trying times. And not just because of the pandemic, just uncertainty everywhere. How do you fight the fear to take the risk?
You don't. You accept it, and you use that as motivation. I can't even tell you how many times I was terrified. When I first started my business, Barbara's right. When you're broke, you got nowhere to go but up. I was sleeping on the floor, eating mustard and ketchup sandwiches. I had nothing to lose.
Right.
And so, and I was terrified that, look, if I didn't make my next sale, my business was over. And that just kept me going because I didn't like sleeping on the floor. I didn't like gaining 30 pounds because the only place I really ate anything was going to a bar, buy $1, $2 beer and eating $30 worth of fried mushrooms. And that motivated me just to keep going and going. And, that fear is going to be inside of you no matter what. I don't care where you are in your life, you are going to be afraid at some level, and you just got to keep on working. And part two to that is, if you do the work and you're prepared, that's what builds confidence to overcome that fear and work through it.